Hello, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you may be, and welcome to the MMA Shower. UFC 305, that's UFC 305, Du Plessis versus Adesanya. The podcast is sponsored by Hatton James Legal, that's hattonjameslegal.co.uk for all your employment law needs, and Overst Events, overstevents.com, your event just made easier. And last but not least, we'd like to thank the producers of the podcast, in particular Chris Browne, who does the editing and producing of the podcast. And you can find an array of other podcasts on SRB Media. That's srbmedia.co.uk. Go onto the YouTube channel and you've got football and music and other genres of podcast interest as well. So go over to srbmedia.co.uk.
SRB Media.
Okay, before we get into the body of the show, we'll go through the usual contact details. The MMA Show 7, the MMA Show 7 at gmail.com. Send in your emails, your suggestions, good, bad, whatever they may be. We don't really care. And that's for all your questions and suggestions as well. Twitter handle, the MMA Shower, or X as it is now, the MMA Shower, and Facebook page, Let's Talk MMA. And if we get time, we'll hopefully have fan questions a bit later on after the preview of UFC 305. Yeah, now we're going to introduce, we've got a bit of a panel, a bit of a round table. We've got two guests. We've got a returning guest of sorts, and it's H from London. How are you, H? Evening?
Yeah, I'm fine, thanks. Good to be on the show.
Good to have you on. And we've got another returning co-host, the Wonder Kid from the northeast of England. Josh, how are you, Josh?
I'm okay, G. I'm just at the minute just enjoying the weather at the minute, and just glad to be back on.
Yeah, good to have you back on. So we're going to get into the sort of the main card of UFC 305. It looks like a pretty good standard from the main event, co-main event, and 2 or 3 other fights on the main card. And it's all the way from Perth, Australia, down under, because we've got a what you would call an Anzac New Australian, New Zealand top heavy card, where the main event is Du Plessis, it's South African, but Adesanya is a New Zealander now. H, just give us your overview of cards in Australia, and we're recording this a week after UFC 304, which was in Manchester, England, and in Australia they're going to stick to the American timings, which means 3 a.m. local time, I think, or Australian equivalent anyway.
Yeah, I mean, that was something I was going to be talking about. Fair, we had the card in the UK, and you had to wait until the morning to watch it, which, I mean, that's fair. I think that's a big debate.
Yeah, H, me and you go back a while with MMA, and we remember, I think there was a couple of early, may not have been pay-per-view, but there were certainly big title fights in England. But they were always local time, 7 p.m., 10 p.m., British time. But in the last sort of...
Well, exactly. We've been to a few events, haven't we, in terms of like the UFC card. Remember Gonzaga versus Procop. I mean, that's going back years now. But that we went. How can you do that going at 3 a.m? It's not feasible. So I found it very unfair. Yeah,
Josh, your thoughts on now? I understand why it's biased towards North America, because that's where 99% of the, or 95% of the pay-per-views income comes from. But your thoughts on local time, should be local time or still sticking to an American bias?
Yeah, I think it definitely should have been local time, but the consensus around that was, of course, that the UFC is obviously an organisation, a business-orientated entity, and they're going to be sort of thinking what's best for business, and essentially they've obviously opted to go with the pay-per-view viewers will be more dense, and of course that's led to the card being at a silly time really in the morning, and I think it showed. I mean, a lot of the crowd, they seem to be almost struggling to stay awake around come main event. So it was a bit of a silly one, I thought. But what can you do?
Okay. All right, we'll get into the first fight that we're going to preview, and Josh, I'll come to you first. It's Tuivasa, who's always entertaining and not doesn't these days quite go for broke, but he's sort of got a bit more, does seem to have a bit more of a game plan, be a bit more patient, versus the heavy hitter Jairzinho. Give us your overall thoughts on the fight itself, please, Josh.
I think overall, that looks like to be an interesting scrap. I mean, you've got Tuivasa's, of course, really entertaining. He's quite a presence outside the octagon as well. He's almost like a gladiator-style heavyweight fighter. He's big on the hands, a good boxer. And then, like you say, you've got that his opponent, Jairzinho, who heavy-handed as well. So that seems out to be almost little wrestling used, maybe a few kicks in there, but dominantly a boxing fight, and that looks to be an entertaining one. Potential fight of the night, I'd say.
Yeah. H?
Yeah, I think two heavy bangers. A heavyweight fight. It's always going to be exciting. I do believe Tuivasa is on a four-loss streak at the moment, so I think the best fight for him to change his fortunes. We'll see. He could possibly be cut after this, but
yeah. You're right about Tuivasa. He's on a bit of a sort of a slope in terms of good results not coming his way. I'm not sure he would be cut. There seems to be an unwritten rule that UFC have. I don't know if someone did the stats, maybe it wouldn't be true, but this is just coming from a sort of a feeling that 3 fights, if you've lost 3 in a row, you're going to be very close to being cut. But I think UFC also factor in entertainment factor. Have you done the organisation a couple of favours probably, or been a stand-in at short notice? So not sure if it'll be the last stand for Tuivasa if he loses, but he's certainly from a professional perspective and a career, he doesn't want to lose another one. H, are you going to give us a prediction on this?
Yeah, I'm going with Jairzinho.
Okay.
Not the footballer, but yeah, the MMA fighter.
You don't think he's going to swerve a free kick, no?
But I think Jairzinho by TKO or KO.
Yeah. Josh?
Yeah, I think I agree with H there on that one. I think Ty's just sort of, like you were saying, he's come off the back of a few bad losses and doesn't seem to be getting much better for him at the minute. So, but like you're saying about being cut, I think he's got a good chance of staying in solely because of his bit of a presence in comparison to a lot of other declining fighters. He's obviously a lot of jokes and banter around him, so I think he's safe in the UFC, I'd say.
Yeah. And he likes drinking beer from his shoe as well, so that may keep him in there.
That's the one.
What do they call it in Australia? A shoey. Yeah, shoey. I'm sure, H, you've never done that, have you?
No.
Okay.
Not my kind of thing.
So they're looking at their TKO KO ratio on one of the stats websites. It's identical, 93%. So 9 fights out of 10, someone gets KO'd. So I think you can say
this might not go the distance.
Yeah, you can safely say you can probably one of them is going. I agree with you guys. I think Jairzinho, he's probably got a bit more of an all-round game, and he's probably got a bit more of a sort of more of an MMA style where Tuivasa, even though I said he sort of in the last couple of fights may not have come, but he has had sort of top contenders. I think Cyril Gane and a few others were his last losses. He did seem to be thinking, well, this is MMA, it's not just a slugfest. But that's where he made his name as well. You know, he had some real barnstormers. So it does work for you, and obviously it can work against you as well.
Just before you go on, G, the odds for this one are Jairzinho's 13-8
Oh, right.
And Tuivasa's 5-4, so Jairzinho's favourite.
Yeah, quite a heavy favourite as well. Okay, we'll come on to the co-main event, which is Kia Kara France. Now, I thought he seemed to have a bit of hype a few fights ago. Seems to have sort of come down a bit now. He's a Kiwi, New Zealand, and he's fighting Steve Erceg, and he's an Aussie. So this is a classic Australian-New Zealand matchup. But Josh, give us your thoughts on the overall there.
Yeah, G, I think that this will be an interesting one because you've got, I want to say Erceg's coming off, lost to Pantoja for the title. Hate you saying earlier, I think that was his last fight.
Yeah,
and he did show. I mean, there was a lot of in the build-up to that fight, people saying that would be easy work for Pantoja, and he wouldn't give much of a problem. But he seems to have a bit about him. So I think Kara France, there is a bit of a hype around him, like you were saying earlier. And I think that it will be a close fight. I think I can see this one going the distance as opposed to Ibasa and Jazzy, potentially being in a finish.
Mm. Okay, H.
Yeah, I think this could be a good fight, I think it could possibly be fight of the night. I think Erceg, I think he's pretty decent, to be fair. Like Josh said, his last fight, which was a title fight, very close. I think I've got the scores here, 49-46, but then it was 48-47, 48-47. So, yeah, it was very close.
Mm.
If you look at the quotes, there's some talk from Erceg. He's saying he's looking forward to the striking contest. And he's also said, he's also put going to try to be killing each other from the first bell. I'm going to try and knock him out. So, sounds good.
Yeah. And Kia France is coming off 2 losses, a split decision against Amir Al-Bazi and Brandon Moreno. So he's going to need this to really get him back on title contention. And as both of you have said, Steve Erceg had that close fight against Pantoja. So it could be one of those fights that either one, if they win, and they win pretty impressively, they could be right back in title contention. So could be a lot on the line with this one, possibly.
Yeah, hopefully they both go for it. A snooze fest, and they're actually meeting what they say.
Yeah, sometimes if there's too much on the line, you're right, H, it can sort of be safety first and just get the win in the column.
Yeah, a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Odds for this one are Erceg's 2-1 favourite, and Kara France is 13-8. Pretty decent favourite.
Yeah, quite a heavy favourite. So, who you going for, H?
Erceg.
So, by points.
Yeah, I think he'll be by decision.
Okay, Josh.
I think logically you'd have to pick forward Erceg, but part of me really wants Kara France, like you're saying, coming off 2 losses. He's really technical, appeals more to me because I like his striking, whereas Erceg seems to have a bit more grappling orientated about him. But I think the favourite would be Erceg, and I think you've got to go with the favourite. But I hope that Kara France could get a result here.
Yeah, I think I'm pretty much in 2 minds that Erceg may have the advantage on the ground, or maybe a few more submissions on his card, but Kia France could be considered maybe a better, cleaner technical striker. But as we saw on the weekend, UFC 304, we were saying that about Edwards, that he's more clinical striker, but a grappler, wrestler took him down pretty easily. There may have been other circumstances, but just a comparison that came to my mind. I think I'm going to go for, just to be slightly different, go for the Kiwi and go for the Kara France, maybe a TKO, maybe a sudden knockout.
But do you think the last fight will give him confidence, or do you think that will play on his mind?
Well, he lost with a split decision, so a split decision you probably if it was really close and you feel genuinely it's close, then you wouldn't consider that as a sort of a confidence denter. But and then Brandon Moreno, that was a TKO. I think if he's got a real confidence in his ability, he shouldn't shake him too much the last two fights, but you never know.
Yeah.
But that's a good point. So, okay, we'll get on to the main event, which really should have happened, 2 title fights ago? Was it Adesanya was supposed to fight Du Plessis?
They had their face-off on UFC 290, wasn't it?
In the cage, yeah. So what happened there? Does anyone know the story? Why didn't that happen? First time round?
Well, from what I heard, Du Plessis, I think it was the turnaround was too quick, so it never happened. They were meant to fight, but obviously Adesanya lost to Strickland, so it never happened.
But even before that, when Strickland, I think he got 5 weeks' notice to fight Adesanya when he took the belt off him. I'm sure Du Plessis was earmarked for that, but something happened. Because Du Plessis beat Darren Till, did he? Was he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He did beat.
Yeah, it was a impressive knockout. But yeah, anyway, so Adesanya dropped out or whatever, and then Strickland came in 4 or 5 weeks' notice. Du Plessis dropped out. Then Strickland beat Adesanya over 5 rounds. And but anyway, we are where we are, and
it's built up as a grudge match, isn't it, between the two?
Well, you've got different angles. You've even got the African angle as well.
All of that, and then you've got the roles reversed now. So obviously Izzy was champion at the time. Du Plessis was the challenger. Plessis the champion, and Izzy's the challenger. So.
Yeah, and I think they're trying to slice this up in terms of a rivalry in different ways. You've got that bit of backdrop with they should have fought first. I'm sure they're going to accuse each other of dropping out and wimping out and whatever. Then you've got the African, because when you look at all the fight cards and when UFC put the fighters their statistics digitally on the screen, that they always put where the person was born, and obviously Adesanya, well, maybe not obviously, but Adesanya was born in Nigeria, and I think he went to New Zealand with his family when he was 5 or 6. But it shows a Nigerian flag, and then you've got the South African flag, and then we have to say it is a bit of a black and white issue as well. Not all of Africa is black. It's 30% North African is Arabs, but anyway, South Africa, they obviously have a white population, so it's interesting angles if you want to see anything into that. But for us, it's just a fight, really.
I'm sure they will see it now. Make money, let's be honest. Sell pay-per-view.
Are you trying to say Dana White will try to exploit some promotion, H?
I'm not saying anything. I don't want a lawsuit against me.
You didn't mention any names, did you? You just said, I'm sure they.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a general comment.
Yeah, the deep state, yeah. Josh, you want to go for this and give us let's do this differently. Give us Du Plessis' strong points and, give us his strong points.
I think looking at Dricus, he's he's a tall, quite a domineering figure, and he's got, I'll say he's a good all-rounder, to be honest. I think he showed against, I think it was Till and Darren Till, good offensive wrestling, and he took him down once or twice. I want to say he finished him on the grounds. And then also with Whittaker, I'm sure he stuffed a few takedowns, if I remember properly, and ended up finishing Whittaker. And that was what sort of sparked him into contention for the belt. But you can't really knock it off. So it's not. I think with Du Plessis, what he says in the tape, he's not really outstanding at certain attributes. It's more, he's an all-rounder, solid MMA fighter, and I'd say he's got the reach on his as well, even though he's a tall man. I'm sure there's a slight advantage there.
Yeah. I think that's a good assessment. H. Du Plessis, give us your.
Yeah, I think similar, really. He is a good all-rounder. He's strong. He's powerful. So yeah, he's going to pose a lot of problems. Obviously, he's a title holder. So yeah, we'll see. But Izzy, he's different breed. He's got a lot of experience behind him, and he's a very good striker.
Yeah, and I've just got to say that I was doing Du Plessis a bit of a disservice that when I said Darren Till, then the title fight. No, it wasn't. It was he beat Darren Till, then Derek Brunson TKO, and then Robert Whittaker TKO. So he really came in strong, and then he had the title fight against Strickland. So he really made that title run his own and knocked out a couple of killers there with Brunson and Whittaker, and we all saw what Whittaker did a few months ago. So no way is Whittaker out of the picture yet.
Whittaker was the impressive one. I think that was a beating.
Yeah, absolutely. And Whittaker is still up there. You know, he had that impressive win a couple of months ago. So yeah, I agree with you guys that Strickland is a very solid all-round fighter, which sometimes all-round can be sort of not be seen as a compliment, but in this context, it's a compliment. And the other key thing for Du Plessis is he's won the last 2, 4, 6. I'm just counting them here. 8, 9 fights. So it was 8 fights before he beat Strickland. So he's on a 9-fight winning streak. And Adesanya is, well, let's have a look here. He's on he's had 2 losses, 3 losses at the last 8 or 9 fights, maybe a bit more. But then he had that Jan Blachowicz light heavyweight, so that isn't in the heavyweights. But he's had a couple of losses, Alex Pereira, then Sean Strickland in the last 3 fights. So he's lost 2 out of 3.
But gee, what's interesting about the last fight of Izzy? That was in Australia as well. So, do you think that will play on his fight?
Yeah. Let's move on to Adesanya. Good point there, H. So I think 2 things will be sort of be like a determining factor. That one of them could be he was in Australia, and I think their fight was in Sydney. This one's in Perth. So I think they're both on the west coast of Australia. So that could be one thing. So the timings, everything else as well. But also with Izzy, I don't sort of follow him in any great detail, but I hear things that he wasn't really motivated to do this, and he has, he did, I think, do 5 title defenses in a row, and he was considered one of the greatest middleweights, as he should be. So I'm thinking with Izzy, has he got the motivation? Has he got that real hunger? Du Plessis actually said after, I think they had a stare down a few weeks ago, he said he didn't see any hunger or any real fight in his eyes. So I don't know, that could be a factor.
Yeah, I think Adesanya, definitely, I think we think about he might be still talked about as one of the greatest, champions in UFC history. But then you had that loss to obviously Pereira, and the biggest one was Strickland, where that big upset. But he's an elite striker, and I believe he's an elite fighter.
Yeah. Josh, on Adesanya, it's obvious what he's got, but give us your thoughts on it.
Generally speaking, I think probably one of the best kickboxers MMA has ever seen. I think technically probably second to none, even including Alex Pereira in that. Even though I'd have him as a better kickboxer, I still think Adesanya is technically, on another planet. He's so technically proficient. The way he's transitioned from kickboxing from a young age and having Muay Thai fights, he's gone into MMA, and he's made it look like a cakewalk against top guys, top wrestlers. So, like you say, he's an elite level kickboxer. He's going to bring that to the foyer. But it's whether or not, like you and H were saying, whether he's still got that eye of the tiger, that hunger to come out and show someone who's only just attained success recently to come out and put him in his place, really, and it's whether or not he's got that drive and motivation.
Yeah, this I think H and myself will probably consider, maybe because of the era we were watching it, is Anderson Silva would still be our benchmark of a real professional Muay Thai kickboxer type style. I still think Anderson is better. I don't know what you think, H.
Oh yeah, that's awesome. In his prime, obviously people forget, but he was awesome. I remember went to watch him live. I don't know if you came to that one, Gurm.
In Cage Rage?
Yeah, Cage Rage.
Yeah.
We saw him against
Lee Murray. Yeah, so was I. Yeah.
Yeah, that was impressive. He's just got an impressive resume, and in the UFC, the amount of title fights he had, he was very impressive.
And the other thing that stands out with bringing it back to modern day times, let's not go too far back, is Adesanya, in MMA, to still be able to display to this level, elite level, and effectiveness, your stand-up, your sort of core martial art, kickboxing in his case, and to a certain degree, Stephen Thompson, Wonderboy Thompson, karate, to do that in MMA, because you always got that threat of especially elite wrestlers / grapplers, that you can't, if the theory says you can't really stand as you do in a kickboxing, because in kickboxing ring or Muay Thai or whatever stand-up, you're going to stand in your normal stance without the fear of someone taking you down and beating your brains out or choking the life out of you. So I think that's even more impressive, that these stand-up guys have so much success in mixed martial arts, where 50% of the game or more is grappling or takedowns.
Yeah, I agree with you there, Gum. And there's a certain element of nostalgia in terms of, all the films you used to watch in the old days. They used to be obviously stand-up karate or, something along those lines. There's something even more about it which is quite fulfilling. Do you remember Machida, G?
Karate, yeah, Lyoto, of course.
Yeah, Machida. Man.
Yeah, he had a run. That's a good shout. He got the title. Did he make one defense or two defenses?
Yeah, it was short-lived, but he did have the title, and then he fought Jones, didn't he? And Jones just, nearly decapitated him.
Yeah, nearly did a standing guillotine and sort of packaged his head back in the post, yeah.
That was cold. Do you remember him, Josh, Machida?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, two of the most iconic finishes, that teep to the face, the Beetle, Balfour, and then, like you said, that John Jones one with the standing guillotine into the knees, and he dropped him like he was dead.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah.
And Machida's probably got the most iconic finish. Is the one where he did that Karate Kid kick to Randy Couture.
Yeah, well, the Karate Kid kick.
Yeah, to Randy Couture.
Kick.
Yeah. And but yeah, it's impressive when these you consider them one martial arts specialists, experts, but they obviously train in defense. But to carry that out in an MMA cage is something spectacular. So, but moving back to so we've considered the styles. It's going to be H, who you think's going to win and how and why, sort of thing.
I think Adesanya, like I said, he's an elite striker. I rate him very highly. The only issue I've got is he's been on quite a long layoff, age, and in terms of the amount of fights he's had anyway. And yeah, how much does he want it? But I'm still going to be backing him, so I'd go for Adesanya.
Okay, fair point. Josh?
Yeah, I think I can see this going to a decision. Even though both of them have got it in the locker. More du Plessis, I'd say, for a finish. But I think if it goes the distance, I think it's Adesanya's sort of just usual style into his glory days, where he sort of just feels his opponent out and sort of cakewalk his way to a decision. not to say de Plessis won't give him problems, but I think if Adesanya can play to his strengths and sort of subvert any threats from du Plessis, i.e. wrestling, which he's shown he can do, I think it will be go to Adesanya.
Yeah, it's going to be a close one. I agree with both of you that du Plessis can bring it and has. But when I watched the Strickland fight, I watched it back a couple of times after initially watching it, and I started to think Strickland was, well, did he win that? Because initially Strickland was saying, "Oh, I got robbed," and I was like, "No, you didn't." And then I looked at it, and I don't know, was du Plessis that impressive at the time? At the time of the fight, it did seem that impressive, but Strickland did have some, and Strickland's got a strange style, but Adesanya, I think it's again, it comes to, does he want it? What, if he wins, what's left for him? Does he just go on another run, 3 or 4 defenses? Does he want Pereira, maybe a super fight at middleweight? But Pereira's not at middleweight, so that Adesanya would have to go up. So there's a lot of connotations there on, if Adesanya wins, what's next? Does he try to clean out the division in 2 or 3 more defenses, or cement his legacy, maybe go for Anderson Silva? I think Anderson Silva maybe had 11, 12 defenses. He certainly had double figures, I think.
Yeah, he had a lot of defenses. One of the most.
I think it's the most record, or one of the most, definitely among the most.
I think Mighty Mouse has got the ultimate, maybe 13, 14. John Jones will be up there as well. Yeah.
Never got the recognition he deserved in the UFC.
Mighty Mouse, yeah. Yeah, when we did that podcast about what makes, it was your topic that you brought to the table, H, about what makes a legacy, and we didn't hardly even talk about Demetrius Johnson, which was not good, but
exactly, yeah, it was. But yeah, he, for people who know fighting, he will go down as a legend, and like you said, arguably pound for pound best ever.
And yeah, there's many factors that come into it, but I think the middleweight division is probably, I don't know, it's not one of the strongest. Lightweight, featherweight, and heavyweight seems to get a lot of attraction now, but it's going to be interesting to see what this does to the middleweight division if Adesanya wins, because I think Strickland has said he's just waiting for whoever wins, so we know who's going to be next. Yeah.
In regards to odds, Adesanya's 11-8 on favourite, and du Plessis 11-10.
Yeah, so that makes it quite competitive, I would say.
Yeah, not that much in it.
Yeah. Okay, so that brings us to the end of the preview of UFC 305. We haven't got time for fan questions, but is there any sort of MMA news that anyone wants to bring up, or anything in the news you've heard or read, or?
Well, there's a question I wanted to ask.
Sure.
And this probably goes to you, Josh. How are you finding your MMA career at the moment?
Oh well, to be honest, since I've had one amateur fight, and since then there's been other things going on outside of my MMA journey, but recently I've picked it back up and started going into sort of more of a camp schedule, and hopefully I can get a fight under my belt in the next couple of months. There's a card coming down locally into the northeast that does British MMA at my age and my weight, so hopefully I can get onto one of those cards, and fingers crossed that'll be a bit of a step up in caliber of opponent, but it's been going quite swimmingly so far.
What's the training like, and what's the hardest part about it, would you say?
To be honest, H, I think the training is probably one of the most enjoyable aspects. I mean, I know it's a cliche, like sort of keeping your discipline and getting to enjoy the grind and the graft and the wear and tear, but the training for me, I think it's one of the most fun aspects. I mean, especially sparring, because when I train, it's quite heavy on sparring orientated. There's some technical drilling, but it's for the most part about 3/4 of training is sparring, light sparring, slightly heavier sparring at times. But I quite enjoy the training. It's more sometimes a diet, and only in one instance, luckily I haven't myself, but one of my mates had to, recently he's fighting and he's had to cut weight, and I've seen what it's like from first hand, and he's been in sweat bags and weighted vests and saunas and all sorts. So that's one thing I'm not looking forward to.
Yeah, this is a question in terms of, I think it's going on for years, and this is to both G and Josh. Weight cutting, should there be a limit, and should it be allowed to the level it is?
I think there should be, but whether there is going to be, I doubt it, because it does create a bit of a spectacle, weight cutting, and a bit of drama. I'm not saying it's the right thing, but that's what it does. If you look at Paddy Pimblett, he cuts 40 pounds, 3-4 stones. So I think there should be. They have it in wrestling and some boxing organisations, so I think there should be, yeah.
I mean, for that one, that's a great question there, H. I think for me, I'm more of the, I think as Joe Rogan has said it, I think it's sanctioned cheating. I do not necessarily fully agree with that statement, but I sort of lean towards that stance. I think the best example of cutting weight is in one championship where they have the hydration tests. I think that's the best way to sort of say if you're dehydrated, you have to deplete yourself all that water weight to get to that weight, then fight off, because you're taking it to another extreme. It's like Alex Pereira walking around at 225, 220, fighting at 185. It's crazy.
Yeah, I agree. I think there should be weight cutting, but there needs to be a limit, and a decent limit, because it's not safe for anybody. The fighter who they're fighting, it's just not safe, and I think there needs to be rules put in place.
And also, I'm sure the fighters realise this, because they have a lot of scientists and nutritionists and all those kind of people. When you do a water weight cut, 70% of muscle, or maybe 73%, is water. So, and 70% of your body, 68% depends, your body composition is water. So when you lose water, what do you think you're going to lose? You're not losing it from your fat. Fat is only 10% water. You're losing it from your muscle. So it's another topic, how they gain that muscle back, and then, what techniques they use, but maybe we'll do a special podcast on that. And H, you can give us your dodgy experiences for that.
Yeah, there you go. I've got a mate who's heavily into it, actually. I might bring him on one day.
That'd be a good, certainly be a good topic, yeah. We'll organise that for sure.
But just on that note, Josh, you're doing really well. And like I said before, your family and your relatives are very proud of you. So keep going. And I'm sure we'll see you fight UFC title soon.
That's the dream. Fingers crossed.
Okay, so this has been UFC 305 du Plessis versus Adesanya for the, I'm not sure I said this at the top of the show, but for the middleweight belt for the UFC Championship of the World. And that will take place on the 18th of August, I believe, in Perth, sunny Australia. This has been sponsored by hattonjameslegal.co.uk and overversedevents.com, and produced and edited by Chris Browne from srbmedia.co.uk. H, any last any real card you're looking for this year, or maybe going anywhere to watch or anything like that?
We've got the next. Where's that? Saudi? Is it that Khabib's cousin?
Yeah, Umar Nurmagomedov. Sandhagen.
So I think that could be a good fight.
Yeah, and there's that El Noche in September the 12th, Mexican Independence Day in Vegas. They've got a special venue, and
is that the Sphere?
Yeah, Sophia, but it's called El Noche, the event. Yeah, the night in Spanish. That should be good as well. So, Josh, yourself, you mentioned something about fight camp. Any fights you're looking forward to, or cards, or?
Yeah, hopefully, G. I mean, it's a bit premature at the minute, but I've just started to sort of pick up that intensity back into training soon. So, hopefully, that card sets out. I think I want to say it's in November time. So, hopefully, by then I'm ready. Mm-hmm. And fingers crossed, I can get myself ready for that card.
Yeah, absolutely. Good lads. So, so thank you for listening, and wherever you may be, good evening, good night, good afternoon, and this has been the MMA Show. Thank you.